I like to drink with Nay. Nay is my mate. I like to drink with Nay because she gets it down in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You're done. I like to drink with Ziggy because Ziggy is my mate. I like to drink with Ziggy because he gets it down in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. You didn't even drink. You gotta. I like to drink with Danielle because Danielle is my mate. I like to drink with Danielle because she gets it down in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What the fuck? I like to drink with Vaughn because Vaughn is my mate. I like to drink with Vaughn because she gets it down in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
On August 15, 2024, the location was Maplewood, Minnesota. 23-year-old Ziggy Anderson, a certified caregiver, was standing on the side of the road with a friend. A black Dodge Charger suddenly appeared. It wasn't speeding past. It was aiming. Seconds later, bodies hit the ground. One woman was thrown into the air. Ziggy was dragged underneath the car. The driver didn't stop. Witnesses reported hearing her shout threats before stepping on the gas. Within moments, she was gone, leaving behind skid marks, phone cameras rolling, and a body on the pavement. Police responded quickly. It didn't take long to identify the suspect. Renee Couch, a 34-year-old with a long history of violence, theft, and prior arrests. She was already well known to the system. But this wasn't just a case of reckless driving. Investigators quickly uncovered footage of a planned meetup, Snapchat messages, and a confrontation that was never supposed to end in murder, but did. Couch was arrested, charged, and later sentenced. Yet even in court, the outcome raised more questions than answers. How did a known repeat offender manage to kill someone with a vehicle and still walk away with less than 2 years of prison time? What really happened that night? And could have been prevented? This is the full breakdown of the events that led to the death of Ziggy Anderson. Step by step, fact by fact. Welcome to True Crime Unmasked. Subscribe and hit the bell icon for more stories. The show where we uncover the disturbing crimes tearing communities apart and the haunting truths hidden behind closed doors. These are real stories, real individuals, real consequences. Stay tuned for more captivating stories. Now let's dive in. Ziggy Anderson, known to many as Ziggy, was a 23-year-old certified caregiver who lived her entire life in the state of Minnesota. She worked in the healthcare field and was recognized for being diligent, dependable, and focused on her responsibilities. Ziggy had no criminal background and maintained a reputation as a law-abiding young woman. Ziggy was known among her family, co-workers, and social circle for a friendly and outgoing personality. She used social media frequently, especially Snapchat, to express herself and maintain communication with others. She never hid her personal life online and was generally open about her activities and opinions. Professionally, Ziggy held a certification as a caregiver. She provided care for patients who needed support with daily living tasks and medical assistance. According to public records and comments from those familiar with her, Ziggy took pride in her job and was committed to making sure the people she cared for received proper attention and support. She had no police record, no involvement in any known criminal activities, and no documented history of violence or disputes. Ziggy's life before the incident was uneventful from a law enforcement standpoint. She was considered responsible and consistent in her conduct. Her digital footprint primarily consisted of social interactions and general lifestyle content. Ziggy remained in Minnesota throughout her life and was deeply rooted in her local community. She had family and friends who regularly interacted with her both in person and online. She was not associated with gangs, violent groups, or any public conflicts prior to events that led to her death. Renee Couch, age 34 at the time of the incident, was the individual later identified and charged as the primary suspect in the vehicular homicide involving Ziggy. Publicly available criminal records show that Couch had an extensive history of criminal activity leading up to the event. Couch's criminal history includes 6 theft charges, 4 charges of disorderly conduct, and 4 assault charges. Her offenses span a variety of categories, including property crimes, violent behavior, and disruptive conduct in public or private settings. She had also been charged with issuing terroristic threats, which indicates previous incidents of threatening behavior, possibly involving violence or the use of threats to cause fear or disruption. In addition, records show her involvement in aiding a drive-by shooting, an offense that carries serious legal implications due to the involvement of firearms and the deliberate targeting of individuals. Another critical charge in her record was child endangerment, including an incident involving her newborn child. This charge typically reflects either neglect, reckless behavior, or placing a minor in an unsafe environment. Authorities had also recorded that she had been operating vehicles with a revoked driver's license, a violation which played a role in the eventual case involving Ziggy. Despite her lengthy criminal record, Couch remained free in the community prior to the homicide. She had prior contact with law enforcement and was known to authorities. Despite that, no restrictions prevented her from engaging in the events that led to the vehicular assault. Ashley Couch was also active on various social media platforms, including Snapchat. Her use of social media was similar to that of many people in her age group, but it also played a direct role in the events that escalated into violence. Investigators found that social media was used to exchange words between rival individuals or groups, including Ziggy and Couch, shortly before the incident took place. Her involvement in criminal behavior, combined with an ongoing online feud, positioned her as a high-risk individual. However, at the time of the crime, there were no active legal conditions preventing her from operating a vehicle or interacting with others online. Even though her license had previously been revoked and her past behavior showed a pattern of violent tendencies. The events that led to Ziggy Anderson's death began with a digital argument on Snapchat. What started as an exchange of words between 2 opposing individuals quickly escalated into a wider conflict involving entire groups. This virtual dispute, mostly taking place over mobile phones and social media, lasted several hours and may have extended into days. Snapchat, with its disappearing messages and ability to record short videos, became the primary platform for the argument. The dispute involved 2 rival groups of individuals, each aligned with their own set of friends and associates. Members of both sides exchanged threats, insults, and challenges via direct messages and public story updates. These digital interactions were not isolated. Instead, multiple people joined the argument over time, amplifying the situation with replies, screen recordings, and reposted messages that attracted further attention. The back-and-forth interactions included accusations of past incidents, neighborhood rivalries, and taunts. In many of the messages, individuals from both groups dared each other to show up in person to settle it. This included typed threats, voice recordings, and video clips of people holding weapons or issuing challenges. Screenshots were shared across other platforms, and followers reacted by commenting or encouraging the confrontation. As tensions grew, the idea of meeting in person was introduced. Members from both groups agreed to show up at Wakefield Park, a public location in St. Paul, Minnesota, to finish the issue. The meetup was arranged openly, with several people posting about it beforehand. Some Snapchat users even announced their intention to record the encounter, claiming they wanted proof of who won the fight. No one contacted law enforcement. No attempt was made to prevent the gathering. Instead, several individuals arrived at the park as scheduled. Some came in groups, some arrived individually, and many of them were filming on their phones from the moment they arrived. Snapchat stories and live streams from that evening later showed clips of people gathering, arguing, and squaring off. From the start, the mood was tense. What started as an online feud now had a physical setting. Some individuals held weapons, including sticks and possible firearms, although no shots were fired at this point. The participants took out their phones and began recording. Several fights broke out in small groups while others watched or encouraged them. Ziggy Anderson was present during this confrontation. She was not a bystander. Video footage and witness reports place her among those involved in the initial arguments and physical altercations. She is seen standing near a group of individuals who were also filming or fighting. Her exact role in the original dispute remains unclear, but she was present during key moments and actively involved. On August 15th, 2024, an incident involving vehicular homicide occurred near the intersection of Larpin Avenue and Clarence Street in Maplewood, Minnesota. This event marked the deadly escalation of a prior digital conflict between two rival groups, including the victim, Ziggy Anderson, and the suspect, Renee Couch. In the hours leading up to the confrontation, members of both parties have been engaged in an ongoing dispute over Snapchat, which involved verbal threats and hostile messages. At some point during the online exchanges, individuals involved agreed to meet in person to physically settle their differences. The location selected for this in-person encounter was Wakefield Park, a nearby public area known for open gatherings and group activities. It was during or shortly after this meetup that tensions reached a critical point. At approximately 9:20 p.m., Ziggy and another woman were standing outside a parked vehicle near the curb on Larpin Avenue, close to Dieter Street. Witness reports and later surveillance evidence confirmed that they were not in motion or engaging in any immediate act of violence. Their posture and body language suggested they were conversing or waiting for someone. The area was dimly lit, but visibility was adequate due to street lighting and nearby passing vehicles. At the same time, Renee Couch was seen approaching the scene in a Dodge Charger. The vehicle was identified as hers through registration and multiple eyewitnesses. As Couch neared the parked car where Ziggy and the other woman stood, she reportedly slowed down the Charger momentarily before revving the engine and making an aggressive verbal statement. According to witnesses, Couch rolled down her window and loudly stated, "I'll hit y'all's ass," while facing the two women. The statement was made with a clear line of sight to the intended victims and was loud enough for multiple bystanders to hear and later recount to investigators. Moments after making the threat, Couch rapidly accelerated the vehicle toward the women. Surveillance footage, combined with cell phone recordings captured by nearby individuals, showed the Dodge Charger veering directly toward Ziggy and the other woman without hesitation or signs of swerving. The vehicle struck both victims almost simultaneously. One of the victims was thrown onto the hood of the car and propelled into the air. She landed several feet away on the sidewalk, sustaining serious injuries. Ziggy Anderson, however, was hit at a different angle and dragged several yards on the body of the car. The friction from the pavement and the momentum of the vehicle caused fatal trauma. After impact, Couch did not stop, slow down, or check on the individual she had struck. She fled the scene immediately. The Charger sped westbound on Larpin Avenue and disappeared from the immediate area before police arrived. Emergency calls from multiple witnesses were placed immediately after the impact, and first responders were dispatched to the location. Upon arrival, Ziggy Anderson was found unresponsive and declared dead at the scene. The second woman survived the impact and was transported to a nearby hospital for treatment of non-life-threatening but serious injuries, including fractures and contusions. The Maplewood Police Department initiated a homicide investigation immediately after the incident. Because of the number of witnesses and available video evidence, the identification of the driver was completed within hours. Multiple cell phone recordings captured the entire incident from different angles. Some footage was live-streamed on social media platforms, which helped authorities quickly determine the identity of the suspect. Surveillance cameras from nearby businesses also captured the Dodge Charger before and after collision. One camera showed the car circling the area minutes before the attack. Another showed the car speeding away immediately after the hit and run. Police obtained the vehicle's license plate number from one of the recordings. The registration traced the car to Renee Couch, a 34-year-old woman from St. Paul with a long criminal record. Her driving privileges were revoked at the time of the incident due to previous offenses. Law enforcement cross-referenced social media activity and known associates of Couch to confirm her presence at the scene earlier that evening. Several people identified her from the fight earlier at Wakefield Park and describe her as aggressive and confrontational. Snapchat messages and video clips showed Couch engaging in the argument before the physical confrontations. Some of the digital exchanges included direct threats, and police included these in their investigation to establish motive and premeditation. Within days, a warrant for her arrest was issued. Couch was located at a residence in the St. Paul area and taken into custody without incident. At the time of arrest, she did not resist or attempt to flee. Upon questioning, Couch initially denied intent to harm anyone. However, investigators presented her with a verbal threat recorded before the collision, as well as video footage showing her accelerating toward the victims without braking. Ballistics and forensic teams examined the Dodge Charger. The underside of the vehicle and the front bumper contained physical evidence matching clothing and DNA from Ziggy Anderson. Tire marks and impact analysis from the scene matched the vehicle's pattern and damage. With strong visual and forensic evidence, eyewitness statements, and digital communication history, police built a case for intentional homicide using a vehicle as a deadly weapon. Renee Couch was arrested shortly after the August 15th, 2024 incident that resulted in the death of Ziggy Anderson and the serious injury of another woman. After reviewing the available evidence, including live-stream video footage from the altercation, phone videos from bystanders, and interviews with multiple eyewitnesses, prosecutors moved to charge Couch with 2 felony-level crimes. The first and most serious charge filed was second-degree intentional murder. This charge indicates that Couch acted with intent to cause the death of another person, but without premeditation. Prosecutors allege that Couch deliberately used her car as a weapon by aiming directly at the 2 women, accelerating and striking them, which resulted in Ziggy's death. Intent was inferred from witness reports and recorded audio where Couch reportedly yelled, "I'll hit y'all's ass," before driving toward the victims. The second charge was assault with a deadly weapon. This referred to the other woman who was hit and thrown into the air, but survived the impact. Because Couch's vehicle was used in a manner that could cause serious injury or death, and because the act was reportedly deliberate, the vehicle legally qualified as a deadly weapon under Minnesota law. Given the severity of the charges in Couch's criminal history, which included multiple prior convictions for theft, assault, and other violent crimes, the court determined she posed a threat to public safety. As a result, bail was set at $1 million. This high bail amount was designed to discourage the possibility of Couch fleeing before trial. The charges were formally filed in Ramsey County District Court, and Couch was held in custody at a correctional facility pending the next stages of the legal process. The legal case against Renee Couch progressed over the following months. During this time, both the prosecution and the defense reviewed the evidence, consulted witnesses, and prepared for trial. However, the case did not go to trial. In January 2025, Renee Couch chose to enter a guilty plea in a deal arranged between her defense team and the prosecution. This meant she admitted to her actions in exchange for a reduction in the severity of the charges. This is commonly referred to as a plea deal or plea agreement. Instead of proceeding with the original charge of second-degree intentional murder, Couch pleaded guilty to second-degree unintentional murder. This reduced charge still recognized that her actions directly caused the death of Ziggy Anderson, but no longer claimed that she had a clear intent to kill at the moment of impact. Under Minnesota law, unintentional second-degree murder typically applies in situations where a person commits an act so dangerous that it demonstrates a depraved mind, without regard for human life, even if they did not specifically intend to kill. Couch also pleaded guilty to second-degree assault, which confirmed that she had used a dangerous weapon to inflict serious bodily harm on the surviving woman. The plea deal allowed Couch to avoid going to trial. Avoiding trial has several consequences. It removed the need for witnesses, including the surviving victim and members of Ziggy's family, to testify in court. It also sped up the sentencing process and allowed the court to resolve the case more efficiently. The prosecution accepted the plea deal on the grounds that the core facts of the case would be formally recognized and admitted by the defendant in court. Couch's guilty plea meant the evidence would not need to be challenged in a courtroom setting, and the outcome would not depend on the jury's interpretation. On March 3rd, 2025, Renee Couch stood before Minnesota court to receive her final sentencing in the case of the homicide of 23-year-old Ziggy Anderson. After months of investigation, charges, and legal proceedings, the sentencing marked the official conclusion of a violent incident that had started with an online argument and ended with a vehicular homicide. Couch had entered a guilty plea in January 2025 to 2 specific charges: second-degree unintentional murder, second-degree assault with a dangerous weapon. These charges came after a plea agreement, which allowed Couch to avoid a full jury trial. The court reviewed all available evidence, including video footage, eyewitness testimony, and Couch's prior record. At sentencing, the judge announced the total penalty: 222 months, 18.5 years, for second-degree unintentional murder, 21 months for second-degree assault. The sentences were ordered to be served consecutively, meaning one after the other rather than at the same time. This brought the total sentence to 243 months, which is equivalent to 20 years and 3 months. Although the total sentence appeared lengthy, Minnesota state sentencing guidelines significantly impacted how long Couch would actually remain behind bars. Under Minnesota law, most convicted individuals are eligible for supervised release after completing 2/3 of their sentence in prison. The remaining 1/3 is served under supervision within the community, provided the offender complies with all correctional conditions. In addition, time already served in county jail before sentencing is subtracted from the total prison time. Based on these rules and credit for time served, Ashley Renee Couch is expected to serve approximately 2 years in an actual prison facility. After prison, she will spend the remaining 18 years on supervised release, living in the community under correctional monitoring. This outcome was not unusual under current Minnesota law, but it immediately sparked controversy. When the sentencing details became public, many people expressed anger and confusion. The fact that Couch, who killed someone and had a long criminal record, would only serve about 2 years behind bars led to serious public backlash. Family members of Ziggy Anderson and concerned members of the community shared their frustrations on social media platforms and in local news interviews. To many, the sentence appeared far too lenient for the severity of the crime. They believed Couch's violent actions and extensive criminal background should have resulted in a longer time in prison, not just a period of community supervision. Many viewers and residents saw the outcome as an example of a system that fails to protect the public or provide justice for victims. In the days following the sentencing, multiple news outlets began to revisit Ashley Couch's criminal history. Records showed that before the death of Ziggy Anderson, Couch had accumulated several charges across the years. These included 6 counts of theft, 4 counts of disorderly conduct, 4 counts of assault, terroristic threats, aiding a drive-by shooting, child endangerment, including an incident involving her newborn child, property damage, possession of burglary tools, driving with a revoked license. Despite these repeated offenses, Couch had not served extended prison time before the homicide. She was frequently issued probation, fines, or short stays in county jails. In this case, the public saw this pattern of leniency as a missed opportunity to prevent a fatal event. The case caused many people to ask why someone with such a history was still allowed to operate a vehicle, be active in social conflicts, and remain largely unsupervised in the community. The use of a plea agreement in this case became a central point of criticism. By pleading guilty to second-degree unintentional murder, Couch avoided facing a more serious charge like first-degree murder or second-degree intentional murder, which carry heavier sentences. Critics argued that the plea deal allowed Couch to escape full accountability. In their view, the act of deliberately driving into a crowd, yelling threats just before impact, should have qualified as intentional, not unintentional, murder. Some legal experts stated that while plea bargains help courts save time and resources, they can also reduce the severity of consequences, especially in cases involving habitual offenders. Many people felt that in this instance, the plea deal worked more in favor of the defendant than in favor of public safety or the victim's family. After Ziggy Anderson's death, her family faced unexpected funeral expenses. A GoFundMe page was created to assist with burial costs and memorial services. The campaign quickly gained attention, especially after details of the case were shared widely online. Community members, former co-workers, and strangers donated to support the cause. The page also served as a space for people to leave supportive messages, share memories, and express their frustration with the justice system. The crowdfunding campaign highlighted a secondary issue often overlooked in homicide cases: the financial burden placed on victims' families after a sudden, violent death. In the months after the case, residents and online communities began organizing discussions around justice system reform. The case of Ziggy Anderson became part of a larger conversation about repeat offenders receiving light punishments, lack of accountability in violent crimes, inadequate monitoring of individuals on probation or supervised release, Overuse of plea bargains in serious cases. Some groups call for legislative changes that would prevent repeat violent offenders from being eligible for short prison stays, limit plea agreements in homicide cases, increase oversight of supervised release programs, reevaluate how prior criminal records affect sentencing decisions. Though no direct legislative change occurred immediately after the case, the public pressure added momentum to ongoing debates about sentencing laws in Minnesota. If this story touched you deeply and made you question what's real, be sure to tap the like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. For more gripping true crime stories that unravel the hidden truths behind heartbreaking cases, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. You won't want to miss our latest episodes, investigations, and powerful conversations. Thank you for joining us on this journey to uncover the truth and fight for justice. Together, we can shine a light where it's needed most. Stay safe, stay alert, and we'll see you in the next story.